All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I'm Tom. I'm with the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, and I think this is my first stream since like maybe November or something like that. So I hope everyone had a lovely holiday season and a very happy new year. Here we are in 2022. I can't believe it. Time flies when you're drinking really good stuff. Yeah, so I'm back here for the first time in a little over a month or so. So great to have you guys. Thank you for coming. And as a few more people start to join us, we'll just kind of move into this nice and slowly. So tonight we are unveiling an American whiskey, which we're always very excited to release. So with a new year comes a new YouTube tartan for yours truly. And I figured since it was American whiskey, we'd go for more of like a red, white, and blue delivery here. So I hope you enjoy that. And we'll get to some really awesome whiskey in a little while. So with the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, our journey always starts in Scotland, but we're sourcing amazing spirits from Scotland and well beyond Scotland, and it's a big point for our team to try and create a more robust American selection for our members to enjoy. We've been hard at work at it over the last few years. I think certainly COVID kind of slowed certain processes down, but we have a really solid stable of producers that we're working with now, and we're hoping to add to that over the coming months and next few years. So we're really excited for it. Really excited to share this particular whiskey with you tonight. And it's actually the first rye that was ever bottled for the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. And the gentleman who made it is a hell of a guy, and he's been a society member for a long time. And I want to bring him on to join me, and we're going to shoot it for a little bit and see what kind of cool stuff we can unearth together. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Pletko from Few Spirits. Paul, how are you? Welcome.
It's doing great, Tom. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. Thanks so much for joining. And we're gonna get to some awesome whiskey. Get to your story, the story behind Few Spirits. A few people making themselves known here in the chat. Hello to Olaf. Happy New Year to you, sir. Hopefully we'll get to see you in person very soon. And Warren Buff is sipping on a 41.144 tonight. Interested to see what's coming down the pipe in rye. Well, we got a cool one for you tonight, Warren. What is everybody else drinking? Let us know. What were you drinking over New Year's? Let us know. Paul, what were you drinking over New Year's? Anything crazy?
I just got back from Cancun, where I drank my body weight in margaritas with cheap tequila.
Nice.
Because you can't drink good whiskey sitting by the pool. I mean, you can, but
you could, yeah. But
margaritas
sounds like in Cancun, yeah. So safe down there and everything. You didn't ever feel like you were going to be like, catch a stray bullet or anything like that.
I was nervous, but yeah, I mean, we just kind of stayed where we were, and
all right. I'm just curious. Like,
no,
I really want to go to like Oaxaca, for instance.
Yeah,
and trips around the little villages and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a gang war going on in Cancun right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So a few bodies showing up at the resorts. So like kind of floating in. So anyway, I'm glad you came out unscathed. I'm glad you were having a shitload of really crappy tequila in margaritas. It sounds amazing.
It was fantastic. Poolside.
That's awesome.
Margarita. It's sometimes that's what the soul needs.
That's great. So Paul, I feel like we have a little bit to cover. This is the first time we're having you on our stream, And our members have had the pleasure of at least one release from you. We released RW 1.2 last year in July, right over the summer, kind of end of July. Oh, there you go. There it is. American Pie 3.1415920 whatever. Yeah, but awesome whiskey. We showed that. We were actually on with the Bourbon Junkies. I don't know if you've heard of these guys.
Yeah, good dudes.
Yeah, really awesome guys. A lot of fun. And we explored your whiskey, one from Distillery B5, and another one from Distillery 140 down in Waco. So yeah, so that was really cool. And so a few of our members have had a chance, I think, to purchase that, to enjoy that. But I don't know how many of them actually know much about Few Spirits. From what I understand, you started out as an attorney. You founded a rock band. Anyway, yeah, man. I mean, you were jamming on the guitar when we entered the studio. So I mean, that's awesome.
I found I haven't played this guitar that's right over here, and I probably haven't played the guitar in a year. And I'm looking like, oh, I gotta play that. I took it out, and
Nice.
it felt good. No, like Few Spirits were now 10 years in the marketplace, about 10 and a half years, really. And we've been pretty lucky and able to grow. Like we've been able to work with Scotch Malt Whiskey Society for a couple of years. I was just showing you beforehand some of the UK releases we did with our bourbon, and then RW 1.1 was a UK release, I believe. But fundamentally, like I like to make stuff. I like to create. And all my life, that's really what gets me excited. And so, yeah, I mean, used to be a pro guitar player, owned a record label, managed bands. I love music. It's always been a super important part of my life. And the problem is I'm not really good at playing music.
Well, you can't be that bad if you're a professional. You got What's your favorite cover to do? Like, is there one where you just shred and it's amazing?
I'm a deadhead. I'm just a hippie.
Are you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a raging.
That's cool, man. I mean, I'm a deadhead in training. Like, I'm at the point where I've enjoyed them commercially, and I'm really trying to get into the shows, the decades, like 81 here and 72 there, and really getting into that sort of thing. What's that?
81's a tough year.
Yeah. Is it really? Why?
Oh, Jerry was kind of peak into some of his more monkeyed years. Then some great shows.
All right.
Like late 1980, there's a great run at Radio City where they recorded where they played acoustic. But yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm always going to go back to my favorite's going to be the Summer '74 with the Wall of Sound.
All right. I mean, that's amazing. So we clearly have to speak more on the subject of the Dead, and maybe we can think about our favorite songs from them and maybe kind of put that in the glass later when we're drinking this whiskey. Anyway, so what Dead song would you like really get into on the guitar?
Scarlet Fire.
Scarlet Fire.
Yeah, anything starting off with Scarlet and kind of moving it into moving from Scarlet right into Fire. That was always my favorite. Back in the day when I was in Dead cover bands, that was always the best. Was we usually play Scarlet Fire for on a short night we might only do an hour.
Oh wow!
Just really
wow. 2 songs.
Just great fun.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably like maybe 6 verses, but it's just going on and on and on.
Oh, it's far out, man. Nice. Okay, so you were a professional guitarist. Were you an attorney, or am I misinformed there?
Yeah. No, I spent some time. I usually you don't pass too many bars, but I passed one.
Okay.
But I'm feeling much better now.
Fair enough. And so 2011 was your first release. When did you start distilling?
So we started distilling long before that. and which is part of that's the saga. And we were talking about what's the story of Few. We were distilling for a while before we sold, but I measure all of the business from when you sell something, because until you sell something, it's a hobby, not a business. So
Right.
that's kind of my dividing line. But the interesting thing about Few is kind of where we're geographically located in Evanston, Illinois. Evanston was the birthplace of the entire Prohibition movement, and so making whiskey here was extremely illegal. Um, there'd never been alcohol here before, never been alcohol made. The city was actually founded as a dry community, and then the WCTU, as spearheaded by a woman named Frances Elizabeth Willard, were the people that really got prohibition going on a national basis and resulted in U.S. prohibition. And I think certainly in a community of whiskey fans, it's really easy to sit here and curse prohibition and say it's stupid and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the primary reason we all say that prohibition is stupid and prohibition doesn't work is because prohibition is stupid and prohibition doesn't work. But if you see the world the way that women in their mid 1800s would have seen it, it's not necessarily the worst call. So I've got a whole 45 minutes spiel on that, but we're probably better off talking about a little bit of whiskey.
That's fine. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So, so coming back to 2011, I mean, when I started working with your brands, it was fairly early on, and I feel like the rye was the lead. Like it was bourbon and rye first. And how many different spirits are you making right now at Few?
I mean, it's certainly the bourbon and rye are definitely our leads. Bourbon is our by far number one seller, but certainly I think our rye whiskey has a lot more hype, especially in the whiskey world. I think our rye has a little more, has more hype. It has a little more juice. I don't think that it's better or worse than the bourbon. Certainly different, but
Right.
people get very excited about our rye, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we're working with Scotch Malt Whiskey Society for a rye whiskey.
I mean, this is great stuff. I mean, we were kind of nosing and tasting a bit before we got on the stream, and oh man, this is fresh.
Yeah.
So why don't we hop into it, huh?
Yeah.
We can continue the chat, and
I've got it poured right here. I think you got some poured.
yeah, I have a hefty pour here.
Yeah, I've actually got 2 glasses going because I added water to one. I don't.
Oh, nice.
One.
I'm just gonna do it all in one. I have an RW 1.2 for later if we wanted to just go back, and
nice.
Probably all my other glasses are dirty because I'm very lazy.
No, but
wow, look at this lovely color. Oh, let's actually show a bottle first. Here, I'm going to do my best. So this is RW 1.3 American rye whiskey entitled Rye Heaven.
With the new bottling, of course.
With the new packaging, with our monogram packaging.
Super cool packaging.
And you have a B4, right, from the old days. You want to hold that up for everybody?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple B4s. Hang on.
Nice. So while he's grabbing those, 62%. Like our W1.2, it was aged for 4 years in a new American oak quarter cask. Nice. So that's our kind of 2 iterations ago of packaging. When I first started with the society, that's the kind of labeling we had, and now we're kind of twice removed from that. But in any case, the juice is still rocking.
It just gets better every day. I mean, we're
for sure.
Great whiskey.
So, boy, let me just double check. I have something here. So I'm like a little I'm all thumbs when it comes to managing the chat. So, guys, folks who are listening out there, like, if I skip over something, I apologize.
Gregory, rye whiskey, the Grateful Dead. Daddy made whiskey and made it well.
I wish we could just have a little bit of I don't know, Eyes of the World playing in the background. Actually, that's the song that my daughter was born to, which I thought was pretty freaking cool.
Great jam song to play. You get that E-sus and just get that nice. Oh, that's a great jamming song.
And so when my wife was in labor for 30 hours, we were listening to Sigarios or whatever,
Yeah.
this Icelandic, like, very kind of like mood music. We were listening to it for ages and ages. So we're like at the finish line. She's like, switch it up. I want something else. She's like, play some Dead Man. And so we kicked it, and out popped Eleanor to Eyes of the World. So
that's awesome.
Hopefully she's a little hippie too. But anyway, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having my back, buddy. So listen, let's get into this beautiful color. Yeah, 4 years in new American oak quarter cask. That'll do it. So as a reminder for folks who don't know, quarter cask is 30 gallons versus a standard American barrel, American standard barrel, I suppose, ASB, right? That's 52, 53 gallons. So 53 gallons. So a little over half that size. A lot more contact with that new charred oak, so you're getting that beautiful color. And wow, like just freshness on the nose.
I really like this barrel because one of the house styles that we always strive for and we're looking for when we're doing our blends, we're doing stuff. One of the flavors that I really want to make sure we're getting expressed in our rye whiskey in particular is cherry. And there's so much cherry on this.
Yahtzee.
This is like an exquisite single barrel because it might be a little heavy on the cherry.
Now we're examining this right now. I do want to talk about like barrel management and what kind of choices how much experimentation is going on and that kind of thing. But for now, let's just.
Yeah, so this barrel is pretty heavy on that cherry note.
Yeah.
At least on the nose. Getting cherry pie.
I'm getting quite a bit of citrus along with that, kind of maybe like a sort of a slightly burnt orange peel.
Yep. Yeah, orange peel. Or maybe a little tangerine or peach.
Yeah, I mean, I can get the tangerine for sure, and then I'm getting more of like a spiced kind of sautéed peaches,
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. So it's the kind of roasted, cooked, sautéed.
Yeah.
So nobody in the crowd has had a chance to try this yet because it releases tomorrow.
No. I mean, this is like the curse of COVID. I mean, the blessing of COVID is that we have been able to develop the virtual tastings. So there are people who are watching us from places that we never ever did an in-person tasting before. I mean, if you're not in New York, Chicago, DC, LA, Seattle, San Francisco, chances are there are not many opportunities to do an in-person tasting without traveling quite a bit.
Sure.
This way, I mean, at least we're all communing in a way. Obviously, it's not the way we want it. We want to be in person, shaking hands and doing toasts and that sort of thing. But we've had a chance to connect with a lot more members around the society and hopefully bring in some new faces. But that's how it goes. Everybody watches us taste this while they're drinking something else, and then the next day it drops. Which incidentally, folks, this release is dropping tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. 105 bottles are coming in, and it's going to be one bottle per member.
I've got one of them, so it's only 104.
You've got one of them, yes. And I've got one, so we're down to 103 already. So anyway, enough to go around. It is a USA exclusive. That volume is a bit smaller than an American barrel. Out of a regular barrel, you're usually getting around 200 to 250 bottles. So this is all for us. Nobody else got any, which I'm very happy about.
It's really nice. I think it on the palate, I think it feels like it's a little closed. It needs to like open up a little bit. There's plenty of flavor. It's what is it? 120
62.6, so
over 125 proof.
Yeah.
Taste like it.
125.2. Right.
I'd say I mean, what do you think it tastes like? Maybe 100 100, maybe 100, 105, maybe.
Ideal in percentages. 105 is a 50, 55, 52.5%.
52%. I mean, the alcohol is really carrying a bunch of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a big proof guy. I like a little bit of water. So Jeff is asking, what's the mash bill? 70 rye, 20 corn, 10% malt.
Nice.
So it's kind of in the middle of most of the ryes that are out there. But the other thing that we do that I think really makes a big difference is we use a wine yeast for the ferment. And that's where you get a lot of those great cherry flavors I was talking about.
That's from the ferment?
Yeah, it's a lot of that's from the ferment. I mean, yes, obviously you're still with the rye whiskey. You're still getting all that great pepper. You're getting all those great kind of spicy flavors. I'm not getting a lot of the kind of fennel minty stuff that I get frequently with big dominant rye mash bills.
Right.
I mean, I think it's there, but it's pretty dialed down. Maybe maybe deep down a little bit of spearmint, maybe, but I'm probably stretching for that one. And I'm really looking for it, and I'm finding it, but I think I'm looking for it.
Well, now that you're talking about it, there is some like very fresh spearmint leaf that's coming through on it. It almost has an herbaceous edge to it.
Yeah,
right?
but like down low, it's not up front.
It's down low. It's down low. Yeah, it's on the finish.
So I don't know how much of that is me suggesting it as being slightly minty, but I don't think there's too much mint. But that, yeah,
it is a phenomenon. Yeah,
that's kind of our mash bill is at 70-20. Same mash bill we use for a bourbon, but the grains are flipped, of course. Right. Different yeast on the bourbon as well. So on the bourbon we kind of accentuate out some more cinnamon flavors, which we can get out of the ferment as well there.
So on the for the ferment on the rye, is it like a Belgian like yeast or something like
French wine out of the Loire Valley?
French wine yeast.
Yeah,
cool.
So on the rye, think as you talk about flavors, think like a jammy French red.
Nice. Okay.
But cool. Not so much on the tannic side. I think French reds can be a little heavy on the tannins for my own personal taste.
Right.
As a very much non-wine expert, you can pretty much summarize my knowledge of wine based on how you spell it.
Well, so let me try and translate. So jammy red fruit without the tannin. I mean, you're looking at like a young stainless steel or concrete vat aged Grenache versus a barrel aged like Cabernet or something like that.
Again, think cherry, think plum, think pear. Big fruity flavors, and I think those really express well in our rye. And now this is my glass that's got a little bit of water in it.
The cherry really pops. I remember this specifically from the last cask that we tasted back in July. There was just all kinds of cabinet spices, and the same thing is happening here. I'm getting a beautiful like maraschino cherry character, laced with like cinnamon spices and a little touch of more like cinnamon stick, like kind of that kind of almost like a bit drying on the mid palate. That's lovely stuff, man.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And that spearmint kicks a bit.
Yeah, Robbie's asking about refill wine and sherry cask. The short answer is yes. We've done a bunch. We haven't done sherry casks very much because, quite frankly, there's a whiskey making region kind of a little northwest of England that does pretty well with that, north and northwest, I guess. We tend to avoid sherry just because it's already been done very, very well. But for the most part, a lot of our wine casks end up either at a store called Binny's here in Chicago. We work with a store called Italy. I don't know if it's a bad word to say here or not, but currently at the moment, there's a wine release that's being sold by Berry Brothers out of London.
They're cool, man.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bad word to say here.
We don't consider that. We don't really consider them a competitor, so that's fine. Even if we did, who cares?
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked pretty extensively with wine casks. We actually just got in a bunch of California casks yesterday, as well as something I'm pretty excited about. We got in a new Tokai cask that we're going to put some single malt in. So the Tokai finished malt whiskey.
Nice. So, boy, I mean, you and I were talking earlier. There are what you said somewhere around 15 different casks in the works that we will eventually release from your distillery.
Yeah.
Can you tell us if any of them are single malt?
Can I tell you no? But it doesn't mean I'm not willing to tell you.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So yeah, you as well as your siblings across the pond have a large selection, mostly of our full size casks.
Cool.
Yeah, I use the number 15. It might be more, it might be a little bit less, but there's a bunch of stuff sitting in our warehouse that is already yours, waiting to be ready.
That makes me happy. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think the oldest right now is probably 5.
Okay.
But yeah, we love working with Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. Yeah, good stuff.
Go on.
Yeah. Oh, Flattery will get you everywhere.
All right, so I've been enjoying this so much neat. I didn't add any water, so I just want to go back.
I think it opens up.
Yeah, just want to add a wee bit of water here, and
so somebody up above, I don't remember who it was.
Hey, you have an old friend. Oh, there goes my light.
Yeah. Hey, Cody, how you doing, brother? Greggy was asking about if we use quarter casking routinely for the rye. And the short answer is yes. The longer answer is we have used, at least in the past, a variety of cask sizes, ranging from 5 gallon all the way up to 53. As time has gone on, we are really only using full size casks at this point. We haven't put anything in a cask that's not a full size 53 gallon barrel in, I think, 3 or 4 years. I'd have to go back and look and see when we made the transition, but it's been a while.
So these quarter casks that we have are likely some of the last ones we'll see.
Yes, those are the quarter casks are definitely on the out. Okay. There's a bunch of them, and we really like them. I mean, they're making great whiskey. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, that I think I've proven that you can make a great whiskey in small casks. But I think you've also proven that you can't make money making great whiskey in a small cask. And, that's the kind of hidden secret, is that if we're not making money, we can't make whiskey.
Right. Yeah. That one begets the other, doesn't it?
Yeah. One begets the other. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really lucky that I get to have a job where I make whiskey all day long. It's pretty much a dream job, but it is a job. And it's how I do things like, pay for food.
Sure. And employ some people to help you.
Yeah. So, it's the dirty side of the business is that it is a business.
Right. So talking about the barrel programs, I mean, are you working with specific coopers? Like you're experimenting a little bit with some California casks, some wine casks, other things like that. But anything that you really kind of hang your hat on or
Yeah, we love working with the Cooper up in Minnesota because we think we're getting great wood from them, and more importantly, I think, or as importantly, I guess, we're getting whiskey. Sorry, okay. We're getting different barrels than everybody else uses. One of the problems of being in the whiskey business is that our competitors make great stuff, and I can't sit here and say, "Oh, what are you going to do? Go drink Bud Light?" Because no, you're not going to go drink Bud Light. But are you going to go drink Maker's Mark? Yeah, you are. You're going to go drink something else because it's really good. And so for us to be able to compete, we have to match that quality, but also do something a little bit different. And I think that, one of the ways we do that is by using different wood than people use. And using this company up in Minnesota, we get some great barrels, get great quality. We're working with a small family-owned cooperage, which may, It's important to me emotionally.
Awesome.
It's American oak. It's all charred, new casks. Rye whiskey needs a new cask. Number 3 char. Although there's not really a definition of what char is. Like there's no definition of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to me, the 3 char that we get is probably a little closer to a 4 char that people might be used to from ISC, but we're kind of we're splitting hairs here. It's a good heavy char that doesn't go over the top.
Okay. And what about air drying times for the staves?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, good quality, long time air dried. Gregory. Yeah, it's American white oak, Quercus alba. So growing up in Minnesota, shorter growing season because it's a little bit colder up there. Shorter growing season, tighter grain, changes the character of the whiskey in a way that we really like.
Very cool. And you've experimented with different coopers all over, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we love. We've used a decent number of ISC barrels, and man, those guys can make a barrel. That's a great barrel.
Yeah.
We've experimented with barrels from other coopers that we have not liked. Either we didn't like the flavor, we didn't like the people, we didn't like whatever it was. That's
your barrels are nice, but you're a real asshole. So I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. Life's too short to work with assholes.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier. Like whiskey's supposed to be fun,
right?
And if working with an asshole makes it not fun, like I'm not going to do that. I've got a dream job, man. Like, why would I try to? Why would I take this dream job and pollute it by dealing with assholes? I don't do it. Like I surround myself with cool people.
Speaking of assholes, let's talk about distillation. That's a really nice kind of transition there. And folks, as I'm rambling on and cursing profanely, if you have any questions for Paul, please dial them up in the chat. I'll be very happy to ask them on your behalf. But I'm going to soldier on here. So you're working with some interesting stills.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about those and the choices you made for the stills in the first place,
sure.
And how it's affecting the resultant make?
So we use a column still from Vendome that we love. It's one of the first small bore column stills they made because we were, we're a relatively new company, only 10 years old. But in our craft spirit space, that makes us kind of a dinosaur. We're established.
Right, you're OG, man. Yeah,
yeah. We're not. I'm kind of middle G. I don't know that I wouldn't say I'm O.
Well, I mean,
we're getting there.
O is what 2010 for a lot of craft distilleries. For a lot of them, for the majority.
There are people that are older. Again, I don't pretend that I did craft distillation.
Right.
But we're always working. We're always working on that. So we use we got a column still that we use, and we strip on that. We love it. Produces a large. It reduces a large volume of ferment to a much more manageable size of low wines, and then we finish that in a copper still. So the column is indeed stainless, but we're finishing in a copper pot. And that's where we're making all of our cuts. That's where we're actually producing all the flavors. We're actually producing the actual whiskey. And so we really like our still setup because I think it gives us the power to create and craft what we're looking for. We can really create and focus in those flavors with the equipment as well as the distilling techniques. Yes, we use a column still, but come try the whiskey we make, man. Like, at the end of the day, it's the whiskey in your glass that matters. We could talk about production techniques and all that all day long. Do you like this? Then it doesn't.
I love it.
You make it.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's what it's about. I mean, it's fun to kind of, for lack of a better term, geek out on this, that, and the other thing lends itself to this resultant product. But at the end of the day, as my colleague Ben says, who you've met and who is a native Chicagoan, it's like it's a series of moments that you're enjoying these whiskeys, these moments in time that you're hopefully sharing with someone else, and just having great stuff. And it's that focus on flavor as opposed to all the other noise. And yeah, I mean, that's what you said. Life's too short. So
it's too short.
Drink good stuff.
Stainless column for easier maintenance with rye. If anything, I'd say the opposite. Rye is a pain, period. Always has been, always will be.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'd say the stainless column is any easier, or I wouldn't say column for a rye is easier or harder, but it is hard. Just flat, period. Anything rye is difficult. Where do we source the grains? It's local. Yes and no. I mean, we go through about 4,000 pounds of grain a day, and there aren't really too many farms that can supply that kind of volume. So, we use suppliers. Everything comes from as close to home as we can get it. We are in Chicago, so getting local grains not particularly difficult. So
right.
It's not like there's a particular farm we work with. We're an urban distillery. We don't grow our own grains. We're not farmers. Most bourbon American whiskey is column distilled. I would say that is certainly true. I don't have any actual facts to back that up, but
I mean, if you're talking about any kind of excessive scale, it's column distilled for sure.
Yeah, you really
there are plenty of pot distilled bourbons and ryes out there.
That is
it's batch distillation, and that's a lot more manpower and cost.
It's not at scale. Like and we really are pot stilled. I mean, we create low wines in our column. So we basically just use the column as a stripping still. Yes, it's a column rather than a pot, but at the end of the day, we bring the spirit to a full rest prior to redistillation. So,
so it's essentially a wash still, if you will.
Yeah. So sometimes I think the terms can be confusing rather than edifying.
Right. Right on. Well, I've watered this down, and it's really, I mean, I didn't put too much water in here, and like you said earlier, probably drinking around 55% anyway. And with the water, it's just silky and really lovely. A lot more nuance coming out.
Yeah, to me, the
more
water
floral for me for sure.
Yeah, water brings out floral. I get a lot more cinnamon, almost like a cherry crumble now, with a little bit of, I don't want to say breadiness, but those little sugar crumbles where the sweetness is really kind of bringing up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that cinnamon, cherry, I feel like it gives the whiskey a little more room to. It really has to breathe. It really opens it up. I know there's a lot of guys out there that really like high ABV, and that's great. When you get that great,
that's what we base our business on, basically. Single cask and cask strength. So, cask strength. She's a fickle mistress. Once she gets her hands around you, it's tough to go back. It's really tough to go back to diluted whiskey after cask strength. I mean, it's nice for a warm up, but it poses issues, I think, at least for me. So but it is nice, certainly with these whiskeys to add that water and see what that experience is about. So, two very different experiences. I mean, it's really intense, neat. It's very balanced, but the flavors are concentrated and just coming at you. So on the bottle note here, actually, it's not on the bottle note. It's on the tasting note. So let me take a look at this real quick. Let me get this up. So the opening line, give me 1 second here.
Simply rye with rye heaven.
Rye heaven, which, I mean, listen, that's a good place to be. Rye heaven is a good place to be. So the first line of this tasting, the full tasting note from our tasting panel, This is a sample coming from a town which was originally called Evanston. So, talk to me about Evanston. Do you know the story behind this? Is there any story really?
People here in Evanston just call it Evanston because it's a great place to live. Because it really is a great place to live. We're right next to the city.
Are you?
Yeah, it's kind of like Williamsburg. It's where I'm sitting right now. I'm less than a mile from the city limits. I am about a quarter mile from the lake. I'm a quarter mile from a beach. So all summer long, my kids, just walk over to the beach. There's a hockey rink at the end of the block. So all winter long, we go down to the end of the block and we skate. There's the university is about a mile north. So you've got people here from all over the world. You jump on the train, you're in the center of the loop in 25 minutes.
And you have Chicago hot dogs. So
hot dogs, we got Lou Malnati's pizza. We got a great local distillery called Few Spirits.
Yeah, show them that hockey sweater, man. That thing's awesome. That is great.
We did a charity hockey game a couple of years ago, a bunch of distillers against a bunch of beer guys. And
oh, really?
Yeah, it was fun. So I
made the crap out of them or what? Who won?
They no-showed.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Damn team.
The whole team. They just didn't show up.
Not one person came. And so we just, there were like 10 of us. And so we just went 5-on-5. And we had a ball.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
If we had done a good job, we were going to get access to go play at the United Center.
Did you raise some money?
Yeah, we raised I think we ended up raising $4 or $5 grand.
Not bad.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. No, that's right.
Yeah. And we're having fun. You go out, you drop
cool. I want to go back to RW 1.2.
Oh, there you go.
I want to compare and contrast here.
Well, so now I got a bottle.
Folks, if you have any other questions for us, please drop them in the chat box.
First legal distillery ever, not just since Prohibition.
First what?
Cody was saying the first distillery since Prohibition, which is true, but first distillery ever, not just since Prohibition.
Right. Well, damn, man, you're paving the way. And are you really pissed off that we wrote Chicago on the label instead of Evanston?
No.
Is that bad? Okay, cool.
Go Hawks.
Cool. All right. So very quickly, folks, we are on Instagram. Please follow us. It would be great to have you. My lovely colleague Jenna takes care of that. I'm not on social media. This is the extent of it. But please follow us on Instagram. It would be great to have you with us.
That's not 1.2. Very different.
Yeah, I mean the color. I feel like the color is a couple of shades deeper on the 1.2. So 1.3, the slightly lower ABV.
But it feels boozier.
It's boozier, but I think it has more like kind of high-toned floral, citrus, that kind of bright cherry.
Oh, 1.2. No, 1.2's higher ABV, 63.
1.2's higher ABV, yeah.
Oh, I got confused. I thought you meant it was lower. I got confused. Yeah.
This is the 1.2 is a bit more leathery, darker chocolate. Kind of like damp earth. Dare I say petrichor? I don't know.
I like petrichor.
What's that?
I like a petrichor because you get that. Almost get that little bit of the nose on that too. Maybe a little bit of clay.
Yes.
No, I know
certainly an earthier nose for sure on the 1.2.
It's not a fruit bomb. There's fruit there, but it's not a fruit bomb.
No, it's not. Yeah, it might be released more with a bit of water, but
maybe a little bit of a baking spice, nutmeg.
Mm-hmm. There were tons of spices all over this. Even I remember kind of like grabbing some Szechuan pepper, like that kind of tingly, just really. I don't know how to explain that feeling like when you have a Szechuan pepper, but very good. Mm.
Yeah,
so again, ladies and gentlemen, RW 1.3, not to confuse everyone, 1.2 is absolutely sold out, but RW 1.3 is dropping tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. There are about 100 bottles to go around. It is limited to 1 bottle per member. We want to spread the love as much as possible. If it lasts more than 2-3 hours, I'd be surprised.
It's a good whiskey here, guys.
So what's that?
It's good whiskey.
It's good. It's solid juice, as I would say in the business, I suppose. Solid juice. This is really good stuff. And if you have 1.2, this 1.3 is a different animal. Brighter, more fruit forward, and
Whiskey Zone's asking what kind of pepper. I think we were talking about the Szechuan peppers, like those
all
red
kinds of peppers. But yeah, the Szechuan in 1.2. Yeah, it's kind of long, red, kind of mouth tingling. It's almost like numbing, right? When you get one.
I love spicy stuff, but when I get that on my plate, I put that over the side to make sure I don't eat it. It's a little,
a
little too
I made
much.
the mistake a few times. Yeah.
You used to want to eat the whole thing, but it flavors the whole dish really nicely. But if you actually eat it, it's too much. Whereas I think 1.2 gives you that flavor without the
Yes, right. Well, this is awesome. We're gonna have to do like a whiskey and dead tasting sometime
that'd be fun.
In Chicago. I think that would be fun to kind of. So, I mean, do you just go right? So, if you were to think about this whiskey in the glass, Grateful Dead song, I'm going to take a minute and think about this.
Ooh, all right.
I'm clearly a novice compared to you. I'm just going to go with the commercial tracks here. Maybe you can go with like, Shea Stadium 1990 or something like that. But RW 1.3. Grateful Dead track.
You know what? Check this out. You want to go obscure?
Please do. I insist.
Brent Midland, 89 Giant Stadium, Blown Away. About 3/4 of the way through, he just loses his goddamn mind. And
Blown away with you. Nice.
Yeah. To me, that's a little bit like a 1.3 where it's there's a movie of this show and you can see him and he's just sitting there and he's pouring his heart out, and you can see it's just a few months before he passed, and he's got his pictures of his kids right there on his keyboards, and he's just pouring his heart into everything, and it's just this really special moment for me where it's like all the sweetness of Midland pouring out there, and I really feel like the fruitiness in 1.3 deserves 89 Blown Away, Midland. Nice,
man. Commercially, I feel like I'm feeling like Ripple right now. A little, calming, but still a lot of life and a bit of introspection there. Something like that.
If I knew the way, I would take you home.
That's right. Awesome. Hey, Paul, it's been a pleasure, man. Let's do this again sometime.
Sounds good, Tom. Anytime, man. I'm just here,
right, dude. Home, right? Well, apparently we have like 15 more tries to get me like full-fledged Deadhead. So let's work on this. and we're really looking forward to releasing your whiskey tomorrow. I'm glad you have a bottle because it won't last long.
Nope.
And I hope we can get together again, certainly virtually. And when we do finally open up, please, I hope we open up soon. We can get together in Chicago and pour some drams for everybody together.
Sounds good, man. Hope to see you.
All right.
Be well, everybody.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And all a virtual round of applause for Paul. Really appreciate having you, man. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.